Welcome to the Excitable Gentleman, a podcast where we talk about all things in the arena of pop culture, whether they be movie,
Music,
TV,
games.
shoes, possibly sometime.
Yeah, probably next episode.
That I'm curious about.
I got some. Yeah,
We got to figure that one out just for the visual component.
Well, actually, I plan on starting us an Instagram page.
Oh, hell yeah.
Where I'll be sharing
Breaking
my
news.
shoe venture.
Hell yeah. Okay, that'd be,
Yeah,
okay,
so-
right on. Great idea. Yeah, okay, so at the moment, as we record currently, San Diego Comic-Con is happening. It's the 50th
50th
anniversary.
Yeah.
300,000 people are there.
Yeah. I say a lot of big things have been going on. There's the re-release of. So this is the 80th anniversary of Batman. This is also the 20th anniversary of Batman Beyond, which is getting re-released this year in HD. So they've been bringing out like Bruce Timm and Kevin Conroy. This is the 40th anniversary of Gundam, which y'all can't see it, but I'm wearing my Gundam shirt right now.
Oh, I didn't realize it was an anniversary. That's badass.
Yes,
I saw the shirt.
Yeah, I was
nice.
like 40 years that Gundam's been going on, going strong. I'm a huge Gundam fanatic. Funny thing is, a friend of mine's actually at Comic Con, and sent me a little picture of there's a truck that's just riding around that it's supposed to be one of the transportation trucks for the original RX-78-2 Gundam. That's my favorite Gundam of all time. That's just riding around with the Gundam on the back of it. And it's like, yeah, they've been driving around for the last 4 hours.
No shit. By the way, if I had that, I'd be driving around too, just showing that shit off.
Yeah, it's like all.
I don't care where I was living. I would drive all the way with that thing.
Yeah.
My closest connection to Gundam is that I own the Blu-ray of Robot Jox. That's as close as I get.
That's about.
It's not bad. It's a similar vein.
We've talked about RoboJox once before in the past.
I think I'm maybe one of 10 people to own that DVD.
Which
I love that movie.
And the funny thing is, and here's the thing about, like I said, just a quick little breakaway, but Gundam is
I got something about Comic-Con next too.
There's a Gundam series for everybody. They have small little cutesy Gundam series for like little kids. They have some that are a little bit more action oriented, but they don't have any real danger for like kids in, elementary school to, middle school. They have stuff that's for strictly adults. But the thing is, though, the one that you were talking about, like the one that's like Robot Jox,
yes,
they actually have one that's like that, where it's literally each country has a robot fighter.
That's what I've known. That's what I know about with regard to Gundam.
Yeah. Okay, so that's G Gundam.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, and that's literally
I mean, like global.
Yeah, it's every country they put up their own fighter and the funny thing is, all of them they're all stereotypical like Gundam. So there's one from Sweden that has a windmill. The American Gundam has like a football helmet and boxing gloves. It's all about sports.
So by the way, it's almost in a way, I know I get my pot shots at this movie, but it's vaguely reminiscent of the cliched nature of each nation with like Pacific Rim, where in that they weren't the robot, the guy.
Kinda, yeah.
What do they call them? Jaegers?
Yeah, the Jaegers.
That they themselves weren't. For the most part, there was a sword though for the Japanese or Chinese. But they did all the things of like, they played basketball. They were hard-nosed. They had the tropes of the culture in the people playing them.
Well, this one had it in the. Well, that's the thing. With the other had it in the people. This one, it's all anime. It's all character and whatever they're using as their vehicle. So the character's gonna be like the dude that has American Gundam. He is the stereotypical American.
Yeah.
But his Gundam's gonna be everything that you think about in America, which is going to be primarily like we're the world champion in sports. So
it's like this cultural totem wrapped up in the Gundam.
Like one of the characters, his name is Master Asia, and like he has a dark looking like Gundam, but his whole thing is martial arts. So he has no like projectile weapons. All he does is close combat, but he fights but it's all respective to whatever stereotypical styles that you're thinking of for whatever culture. So like he's doing most of like Tai Chi type of things. So it works out when you like actually watch it. You got to remember, this is going on for 40 years. G Gundam's 26, 27 years old. So is it that all these different versions are out there because of the natural, just organic progression of it over the course of a 40-year trajectory? Or is it that there was a conscious, because I kind of see it as like with comic books, a thing runs for 40 years and they have thousands of versions of it because everybody has their own take on it. It's a little bit of mix because there's so like they broke it down in between UC, which is Universal Century, and then NC, which is non-Universal Century. So Universal Century is all the original stuff that you're thinking of, and they still have stories that are still going on from the original series from 40 years ago.
Okay.
That like, so there's Gundam, then there was Zeta Gundam, then there's Double Zeta Gundam, but then there was movies that came between there that kept the whole story from the original lines going, like Char's Counterattack and stuff like that. So like, but then you get to stuff like Gundam Wing, that's its own separate universe. So it's stuff that doesn't even happen in any of these. Like,
just like comic books have that too, right? I mean, you know, like they have alternate universes and a multiverse and shit like that.
So like with the big comics, where it was Marvel 616 was the main one everybody knows, and then it was Marvel Ultimates. That was like, those were the two big lines they had. This is kind of the same thing with Gundam, where it's like anything that's not Universal Century, that's all the kind of wild and crazy things that you get to see. Like one of my favorites is called Iron-Blooded Orphans, and it's a really dark take on Gundam because they're all kids. Like even when they get older, they're still only maybe like 20, 21. But it starts out with them like between 12 to 16.
Okay.
And they're all just kind of throwaway orphans that get used up on a mining colony. Well, they eventually learn to fight back. They start up their own mercenary company. But then you see the things that entail with that, where they start losing people. They start losing their friends. They start losing kids that they grew up with, that they were helping raise, that they have to make these hard decisions. And then when you get to the end, it's not like it's a happy ending, but it's a happy, realistic ending, because it's not a happy ending for everyone. Like, even the main characters, not everyone makes it out.
Yeah.
Some of the people that do make it out still have a terrible, sad life, but you see the real world progression in it.
I personally like that take. Some people want the ending they want. Some people want the happy, kind of schlocky potentially, but you know how that goes. Kind of saccharine ending. Some people want that, but I like give me.
And that's the thing, you can
give me warts and all.
And that's the thing, you can get that in. There's literally every Gundam series has something where if you want that sweet ass ending, you got the sweet ending. If you want the one that's just everybody fucking died and you're just sad, they got one of those out there. So it's like there's a little bit of everything for everybody.
Okay, by the way, you said that it's the 40th anniversary this year. I think it was actually a couple months ago, like for the exact anniversary, quote unquote. But Brian K. Vaughan, he's a New York Times bestselling author, famed comic book creator. He is writing the screenplay for the live-action movie, and that's as of March. So that could be really interesting, actually.
I have hopes for it.
Yeah. By the way, they didn't go for like writer of superhero the movie 2 or something.
And that's the good thing is they gave it to somebody that's actually like that knows about mecha, that knows like that you can't have a superhero story in a mecha story. Like, it doesn't work that way, because all Gundam's all about war. Like, no matter at the end of the day, even if it is a sweet storyline, it's all about war at the end of the day. So like, it's one of those things where you need to have somebody that understands, like, yeah, we want to see the big robots.
Yes.
By the end of the day, it's still a story about war. And like,
yeah, but it's not purely a superficial affair.
No. Yeah. And that's the whole part is, yeah, you see the giant robots, but there's an underlying story that talks about the PTSD, about the hard decisions that you have to make.
Well, yeah, I will say, I mean, granted, I'm obviously completely ignorant toward all of this outside of what I've learned here, but the pedigree of Brian K. Vaughan in general, and with how movies go and how the writer that they chose, does give me hope that they're going, definitely not going the more Transformers-y route here. Yeah,
I think they're starting to kind of catch on, where it's like, moviegoers and are going to see these movies that are from their fandom, as I like to say now. It's like they don't want someone that's just going to come in and just slap on a sticker and say, this is what it is. It's like, no, we want you to make something that it doesn't have to be, and it doesn't have to be 100%.
It's not there to strictly mine it for dollars, though.
Yeah,
it's finding some middle ground into. It doesn't have to be the thing where, like, if they try to be for everyone, they're for no one. But it's that thing where it started with the fans. That's how we got here. That's how we got to the point of wanting to adapt this property and finding it adaptable. So let's be true to it, but you can also be inclusive on some level.
So, well, here's the thing. You can make so this is what I told everyone else. Like, Shazam was, to me, one of the perfect superhero movies, because it kept along the lines of the very first Shazam story, kept along the lines of the New 52 story. But at the same time, it didn't stay to any single one of those. It went and created its own real story for itself. You don't have to give me Secret Wars. You don't have to give me, Transformers The Lost Light storyline and give me it perfectly. But if you give me at least, when I look at Optimus Prime, if I see the same Optimus Prime that was from the movie that made me cry because that motherfucker got shot,
Yeah.
at, he got shanked and shot and died as a kid, and I see the same thing in this movie, mind you, I can still tear up in the 1986 cartoon Transformers. I've seen at least 3 or 4 of the other ones, and Prime died like twice. Could give a fuck less. It was just like, now the voice, I was like, all right, Peter Cullen, I appreciate it, but it was just like, it's Michael Bay, and it didn't do anything for me. So.
Keep in mind, by the way, last night I watched 45 minutes of Hackers, and at one point I just started tearing up because I was so happy watching it. So in terms of yours just saying, you might tear out a 1986 cartoon, yeah, believe me, at least there was like drama in that. This I was just crying out of sheer pleasure. That being said, by the way, I understand. I do dig just in general, broadly, the first Transformers movie, and then they drop off precipitously from there.
Yeah.
That said, Bumblebee is legitimately good.
And that's what I've heard.
I'm like, seriously, it's legitimately good.
I watched, the only thing I've seen from Bumblebee was the first 10 minutes where they did the opening shot of Cybertron, and that alone was, that right there,
Look, dude, it's cool. It's cool as shit.
I was just like, I could care less about the rest of the movie. If the fact they got that 10 minutes right, I was like, I'll go buy the movie on Blu-ray. You give a fuck less if I ever watch it again.
I do legitimately recommend it to people, and every time I do that to some people, I have to. They all give me the,
but a lot of
death
people
warmed
forget,
over
though,
look.
that this isn't a Michael Bay production.
100%. And also, though, it's directed by the guy Travis Knight, son of Phil Knight, Nike creator, by the way. That he directed Kubo and the 3 Strings, 4 Strings, and there were a certain number of 3 Strings. Okay. That movie's great.
It is. It got nowhere near as much love as it should have gotten.
No, but you don't make a movie like that. It's not a fluke. That dude clearly knows story, and Bumblebee is quite good. So, real fast, friend of mine is at San Diego Comic-Con as well.
Mm-hmm.
He said he went with a friend of his, and he just talked about how he sent me a few photos of just how claustrophobically packed it is, just with so many people walking just in the main, just the halls, not the actual halls, and it looked insane. He said also, by the way, that his friend who was with him bought for a not insignificant sum a very nice print that had Stan Lee's signature on it. And I've requested a photo of this because I want to see what that looks like.
Yeah, pretty much. This is going to be the year. I mean, they already did the Stan Lee tribute, but this is going to be the year where like everybody's trying to get that Stan Lee signature somewhere.
No shit. Look, there new ones aren't coming.
And that's like, I still regret that. Mind you, it was on a skateboard, so of course I didn't want the skateboard, but the artwork looked nice. I just couldn't pay the price for it.
That's also rare. Just the
was,
specificity of the actual thing.
But it was Stan Lee and Humberto Ramos, who was my favorite comic book artist, and both of those had had autographed it. But the dude wanted like $1,000 for it. So like, I'm not paying $1,000 for that. Like, not the skateboard. If it was a Captain America shield, if it was a comic, anything, but not a skateboard.
That's fair.
Well, yeah.
But speaking of Stan Lee, Spider-Man: Far From Home, which came out, like 3 weeks ago ish. I saw it actually, like I think the day it came out. You've seen it recently, right?
I saw it a week and a half ago, a week ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. We haven't discussed anything in terms of our impressions. What do you think of it?
I loved it.
Really? Okay.
And I loved it because, and mind you, this is going to be spoilers because it's been 3 weeks and folks already seen it. It don't matter no more.
Like everybody's moved on to Lion King at this point, so
yeah. But the main reason I really liked it was because it. So here's the thing that a lot of people didn't realize and didn't pay attention to in the movie, that the movie takes place like just a couple of months after everybody got back from the snap.
Everybody's still dealing with everything.
Yeah. So this isn't like, next year or, even like Christmas. This is like the month. It's either a month or 2 months after the snap.
There's been no decompression time.
Yeah. So, and okay, if everybody's, if you haven't seen the trailer for it, the whole premise is that Spider-Man's supposed to be going away for his, is it summer vacation? Yeah, okay, so it's supposed to be summer vacation.
Like a summer school trip.
Yeah, and they're doing a European tour. And he wants to go so he can go and confess little crush on MJ, and he can just enjoy being a kid again. And he finds out that the world is in danger again from an Avengers level event from the elementals,
which is in the opening scene of the movie.
Yeah, and
in Mexico City,
and a portal has opened up that let them through, and that Mysterio has came through, and he's from another dimension, but he's trying to save our world, and then at the same time he has this relationship with Peter, which that was the part I really liked.
He was looking for a surrogate mentor,
yeah,
or a surrogate Tony of sorts, and he was there encouraging him.
Well, it wasn't necessarily he was looking for a surrogate Tony, but he found somebody that he could relate to, in that they understood what it was to be a hero and be a person at the same time.
Okay.
Like, that's the thing. Tony Stark was Tony Stark, and that was the whole thing with the movie was they were saying there is never going to be another Iron Man. Peter can never be Iron Man, but you can be the best Peter Parker you could be.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Whereas Mysterio, he was trying to let him know, like, hey, you are a kid. It's like, I understand that this superhero life is a terrible thing because we don't get to have the love that we want. We don't get to enjoy the things that we want to do because we're out protecting the world for everybody else. So I get it. It's like, and that was the whole point, was like, which, spoiler alert, Nick Fury and Mariah are not who they say they are in the movie. So, and they keep pushing him so hard. It's like, you have to save it. You have to do it.
But they juxtaposed the, that kind of gregarious openness and just earnestness, seemingly, of Mysterio, and just, to your point, saying, you're a kid, enjoy this, and the warmth of that, against Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. being like, you gotta fucking help us.
And see, and that was the point.
You have a job to do.
Yeah, and that was the thing, was like, a lot of people didn't pay attention, but threw in a lot of, like, PTSD for him. Where it was like, you gotta understand, he's 16, maybe 17 years old at this point. He's died. He's been gone for 5 fucking years. That there's kids that he, they even said it in the opening. There were kids that they left that were younger siblings, that they're the older sibling now.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't know how to deal with that. And then he's still trying to be a hero at the same time.
And it just happened.
Yeah. And then, like you said, his mentor, mind you, we discussed this when we talked about the end of Endgame, that there were 4 people that Tony cared about through this whole series that mattered to him. It was Pepper, Happy, Rhodey, and of course we're going to say Morgan because that was his daughter, but she was,
Yeah.
But
that was a late addition.
Yeah, but the last one, of course, was Peter.
Yeah.
And that was the thing. He wasn't going to do any of this. Like I said before, his whole motivation in Avengers was to bring Peter back. Like, that was his whole thing, was the world's fucked up. I know it is, but if I can get him back.
Yeah.
Because he cared about him so much. He saw the potential. Essentially, this is the thing. Spider-Man was everything that Tony Stark wanted to be. Tony Stark was a superhero. He was a hero in the movie. That's undeniable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thing is, though, Peter was that light. He was, what if I didn't make weapons? What if I wasn't that billionaire asshole kid? What if I was just, I want to do good because that's what you're supposed to do. And he saw that in him, was like, wow, he can be better than me.
He was his alternate life in real time.
Yeah. It was like, that was like, he wanted to make the world a better place. And what better can I do than make sure you're in it so you can do it? Because I can't do it as good as you can. So if I can bring you back and make sure that you can leave that imprint that I wish I could have, I'm going to do it.
And by, in a way, ostensibly traded one life for the other.
Which, and that was the thing, that was always his destiny.
Yeah,
Tony Stark was going to die.
By the way, to your point about the PTSD, another thing that exacerbated the PTSD for Peter Parker / Spider-Man is that, as some people pointed out, that when he was quote unquote snapped in was it Infinity War, that part of the thing that added to the anguish was that he, being an intellectual genius and such a scientist, that he knew what was happening.
Well, now that was like,
right? Wasn't that part of there was a consciousness to that?
Now the part that I took away from it wasn't him being intellectual; it was the spider sense. Because I remember,
okay.
Because spider sense detects danger and everything else for him. but it's only something when he notices it. That's
Okay.
the reason why I like. And if you remember in this movie, that a lot of times spider sense didn't go off on like a lot of stuff for it just didn't show up.
Yeah.
It has to do with him actually being essentially like if he's mentally fatigued or he's just not his head's not in it, it doesn't work.
Gotcha.
So,
That's okay.
So that's the thing. The snap.
Fair enough.
He knew something was going on. That's when you got to remember he was the last one that disappeared.
Yes.
And he was the one that was holding on to Tony, where everybody else is just like, I'm gone.
Yeah.
It was like, hell, Anthony Mackie's character, the Falcon.
Yes.
So he was just like Steve, and boom, he was faded off. Peter knew it was coming before he even started fading. He was like, Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good. And then you see him slowly die off. That's the thing. He was the last one. So think about that. You felt yourself die. You knew it was coming.
And that's okay.
And you couldn't do anything to stop it. And it's like, wow, this is it for me. But then you get brought back.
Well, and also though, being a child.
Yeah.
And enduring that and being aware of it, to your point,
exactly.
with regard to the spider sense. But that.
And like I said,
that's a lot to deal with for anyone.
And like I said, think about that carrying over to this one where I died a month. It's like I died 5 years ago, and I just got back a month ago. I'm trying to figure out what all is going on, and all I really want to do is just be a kid for once.
All I want to do is tell the girl I like that I have a crush on her.
Yeah.
And full stop.
And like, and the funny thing is, like, people aren't really paying attention to it, but you gotta think about it. When we were kids, that was like the biggest thing in the world to tell a girl, I have a crush on you, that I like you, because he was already thinking I'm gonna get rejected. The whole movie was him thinking, I'm not gonna make it. Even if she might like me, and you got to remember, there was a part where they kind of came to that whole conclusion where she's like, well, are you Spider-Man? And then he was like, well, she just likes me because she thinks I'm Spider-Man. She didn't actually care.
Yeah.
And that was the whole thing. That's what we think about when we're kids. It's like, hey, I want to go talk to her, but you're 13, 16-year-old mind. You're like, well, fuck, I might get rejected. That's going to be terrible. Everybody's going to laugh at me. I don't know how to deal with that.
Well, and not just that, by the way. It's like, it's not like that I like, that in certain situations, like, I like this girl or boy, whomever. It's not that I like this person. It's also that this is the most love anybody's ever felt. This is real love. This is lifelong love. So we have to deal with this, and this is life or death. I could die because of this.
And see, that's the thing. And for him, like I said, it's lifelong love, but for a kid, they don't know that.
Well, no,
and it's like,
exactly.
And his head is like, he's like, maybe I might marry her.
Yeah.
Maybe I might not.
No, that's what I mean. Like it's the stakes are incredible and irreparable depending on how it goes.
Yeah, and like I said, and that's just asking a girl out on a date. So think about telling that same kid, well, okay, that's great. We know you want to do that, but you got one day to save the world. And if we don't do it, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
She's gone, you're gone, we're all gone. And it's like, oh, okay, I guess I'm doing this fucking thing.
And yeah, and also the fact that too, like, he did so much, but then there's immediately, the second something comes up, they're like, hey, come back now, you owe us, this is happening.
Yeah. And that's...
You don't get time off, 16-year-old.
And see, I like the fact that all the Spider-Man movies have at least given that, have shown some way of him struggling somehow. Because they don't show him really struggling financially in the movie, which is the main thing with Peter, is Peter needs money. But this one's shown him...
And then the first one, they showed that to a certain degree.
Yeah, like...
Not a lot, but enough.
I say, well... And it kind of made him seem more like the average New Yorker, where he doesn't have the best cell phone because he's Spider-Man, and he's a kid, so, of course, it's probably falling on his pocket a million times, and the screen's cracked, but at the same time, it's like, I don't have the money to buy another $5,000-$6,000 cell phone. I can't ask my aunt for it. Because
they all but represent him as like a scholarship kid.
Yeah, and that's essentially what he is.
Yeah.
That's what Peter's always been. He's the smart, brilliant kid that comes from a poor household. It's like, it can't be helped. That's just how life is for him. This one was more like, okay, we see that they're doing better, but he's not doing better as a person. It's like everybody's trying to, and that's like, he has the world on his shoulder, because that's like, everybody keeps putting it there. He thinks he has to be Iron Man because Tony was the world's hero.
Yeah.
And when you have everyone looking for you because they knew, like I said, even in the trailer, which they didn't even show in the movie, when he was talking about, hey, are you going to be the next Iron Man? That scene actually wasn't in there. And he's like, hey, I'm too busy doing you guys.
Marvel loves doing those rope-a-dopes of not showing you, which, by the way, I like.
I told you, it's a smart move because I don't like. I think I told you before, I'm only watching like essentially 2 trailers, and then after that, I'm done because I get tired of getting getting pretty much the entire story.
I only watch outside of very limited instances, teaser and trailer 1.
Yeah.
I don't watch far because they fucking overdo it now. Because all they care about, seemingly more and more, most studios anyway, they just want that opening day gross. They don't care about repeats. They don't care about spoiling it. Do that, and if you get word of mouth, cool. But it's all about opening weekend.
Yeah, and it's just like I like going in without. My thing is, I want to go in without knowing the entire story because I want to be entertained by it.
Absolutely.
If you can't compel me with your story, then you didn't do a good job. So if I already know what's going to happen, 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to care that much. There aren't any stakes in it because I already know what happens at the beginning. I know what's going to happen in the middle. I know what's going to happen in the end.
Yeah.
But if at least you told me it's like, I saw a trailer and then you might have thrown in this scene, but when I know that this scene should happen, it's like, oh, well, this didn't happen. Well, what's going to happen next then?
Yeah.
Then it's like, okay, well, I'm still on my toes because you didn't show me that, but there must be something else that you're diverting from.
Absolutely. See, that's and we talked about this before too. That I'm definitely more than ever in the camp of watch those 2 trailers, pretty much outside of very, like I said, limited instances. Otherwise, I don't read reviews. I just get a general idea of what the tenor is, good or bad. That's all I care about. I don't want details. I'm definitely trying to go in more blindly than ever, and sometimes it can backfire because you kind of have your expectations and it's a different movie. And it doesn't mean, by the way, it's bad. It's like, for me, it tends to be drinking water, thinking it's Sprite. Your brain just isn't ready for it, but it doesn't mean it's bad.
Yeah.
And so that's a problem. Oh, just occurred to me. When we talked about this trailer and kind of like where Marvel was going when it came out, we were talking about, excitedly, about, oh, Mysterio, the multiverse. This opens up everything. And we're talking spoilers here. Not the case.
And see, that was the thing. I thought that in my head that this wasn't going to be the case.
Yeah.
But
how does it make sense to you then?
So, the reason why I thought this wasn't the case is, and of course we already said a spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Mysterio was going to be the hero. So, anybody that's a comic book nerd already had from the gate was thinking, no, this ain't going to happen. But because
it was like they're not going to do that.
Well, the thing is, Mysterio's whole thing is he's a master of illusion. So
yes,
he uses tech. He's a con artist. He makes you think things are how they are. He can make you see things. He can make you smell things that aren't really there. So it's like, okay, well, maybe this might still be. I always say when they said a multiverse, it's like, okay, well, that makes more sense. It opens up other avenues for them, especially with the whole Spider-Verse movie. It was like, and they were talking about how there was a deleted Tom Holland scene. It was like, okay, well, this makes more sense. But then we find out that no, he was a disgruntled ex-employee of Tony Stark, which is, for me, I love that whole thing was, even at the end, it started with Tony, it still ends with Tony. That it's not Peter's enemy, it's Tony's enemy.
It did add a certain resonance to it, for sure. I gotta say, and I'm a noted Jake Gyllenhaal fan. He was great in the movie. I thought he was great.
He was, and I like the chemistry between him and Tom Holland.
Absolutely, and he. By the way, you can't have a lesser actor for that role. I know it's just a comic movie, specifically for the earnestness and the warmth of those scenes, brief though they were, relatively speaking. You had to have that, and to be able to switch convincingly, he did a lot of work in very little amount of time.
And that was so Robert Beck, that's his name. That's Mysterio's real name.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole time, you can tell he really didn't want to hurt Peter.
Yes.
And that was the reason why I love this movie, was because there's certain characters that, even though they might not have, like, Mysterio really doesn't have a ton of screen time for characterization. But the stuff that you do get, you understand that, like, yes, he is disgruntled. He is very self-centered about himself. He thinks he should be on this huge pedestal. But at the same time, you understand why, because you see it through his eye. You see it through his eyes when he looks at Peter, because the very first thing he told him after their whole meeting, and essentially he came in the room and he was trying to explain everything. Everybody looks at him like he's a nerd because he understood what Beck was talking about, and he told him, "Don't apologize for being the smartest person in the room."
Yeah,
because he understood. Is like, just because they don't understand and they don't get it, don't make yourself small because you think you should to fit in with them. It's like, that's not your problem to make yourself dumber. It's like, and that was like, you can understand where he's coming from, because I've had that same perception. It's like, I had to talk essentially stupid for a while because a lot of people would look at me crazy because I would say certain things like, okay, well, maybe I can't talk about quantum computing,
Yeah.
but let me just go ahead and talk about something else.
Well, to your point though about Mysterio and his motivations and things like that, there are some interesting parallels in a way between that kind of and granted we don't have the 1-to-1 because Tony Stark's dead, so it's not like them competing on screen together, but you know what that means when they did the flashback to him using it and giving, was it crap or whatever it was, for the acronym. But it kind of reminds me of Justin Hammer in a way.
Well, that's what it is. It's so Mysterio is like Justin Hammer, but he's a better Justin Hammer. He's
But he's
smart.
actually a scientist,
Yes.
and he's actually has some level of comparable intelligence.
He's smart. He has the tech for it. He's just not on Tony's level.
Yeah.
And the thing is, though, it's not saying he can never. Well, really, he can never get to Tony's level.
But he thinks that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. In his mind, he's thinking, "I'm just as good.
Yeah.
I'm just as smart. I just don't have the money. I just haven't been given the opportunity like he has." And to a point, he's partially right. It's like there's certain things that have happened that, yeah, you might not get the credit for. It's like, and at the time, Tony was probably this is probably in between like Iron Man 1 and 2 or 1 and 3 whenever he was actually doing the whole pitch thing. And it's like, yeah, Tony was still a dick at that point. Like, you've got to remember that. There was a lot of dick moves that he did in all the Iron Man movies.
Also, though, it is conceivable to think that Tony saw that tech that Gyllenhaal's character created and just sees it as another tool. And just did it like it was nothing. It was a faceless thing.
And see, and that's the thing. So if you actually pick up some of the new runs of Iron Man,
sure,
they go back in flashbacks, and that's how they show it, is that Tony's always been a super genius, but there's this whole thing where they talk about geniuses, how a lot of people get rubbed the wrong way because they talk to you like they want to be talked to. Mm-hmm. So they think that you're talking to them to make them look stupid. It's like, no, I'm not talking to you to make you look stupid. I just think that, like, this is how I talk, and I'm thinking that you're on my same level.
Yeah.
So it's not trying to talk down to you. I'm just trying to explain it to you the way I know. That's kind of how it was. It was like, well, it's like your tech is good.
It's a perception issue.
Yeah, it's like your tech is good, but it's like it's not that good because I can already make this. I already know what to do with it. It's just going to be another stepping stone.
Yeah, and also to the point, I guess it's my own point in hindsight, of Tony just seeing it as like another utility, something to use. It is very conceivable and fair probably to think that he didn't use it the quote-unquote right way. No. And that's why Gyllenhaal is pissed, and he wants it because like this is the visual representation of his genius. And it's just like, I'll show you all. This is what he wants to use it for.
Well, the thing is, no one wants anybody to shit on their idea. And when it's something that you create and you're proud of, and then someone just comes out and is like, okay, well, this is cool, but I know I can do it better, and then just throws it away.
Yeah.
And that's all it is for them. It's like, and that was your one single moment.
Yeah.
Like I said, mind you, this is everything that happened to him. It wasn't like it was a series of events that happened. It was literally just this one single moment.
And to Tony, it's a tool, but to Gyllenhaal, he shit on
everything.
His legacy.
Yes, it's everything.
It's his namesake. It's everything he had.
Yeah. And you got to remember, like, in the movie, he was a formidable opponent for Spider-Man. That's the whole thing. Is Mysterio's not... And the other parallel you got to take away from it is that they're both superhuman people without superpowers. Mm-hmm. That Tony had the Iron Man suit. Mysterio is really just using drones. That's it. Just holograms and illusions.
Everybody around him has extraordinary abilities. They are extraordinary humans.
Yeah. And I think that played part of the fact that like Peter felt he had to do some of these things because, of course, they always say with great power comes great responsibility. He has the power. He just wants to be a regular kid, whereas Tony was just an average dude. Well, he was smart, but he didn't have any powers. He was extraordinarily smart, but that was it. Jake Gyllenhaal, which, of course, we know it's not true now, but at the time, he looked like this phenomenal superhero was going to be the next Iron Man who didn't have any powers. He just had a suit. And it was like, well, they're just regular guys. I have to step up. And it was like, I said, the whole movie itself, I really enjoyed just the fact that they gave that whole thing with Peter. It was like, you know what? We want to make it where you have to sympathize with Peter because everything's getting thrown his way and it's just piling on top of him. Like, for me, there was no way for you not to feel bad for him in a situation.
No, I agree. The more us talking about this it makes me feel a lot better about the movie. Because I thought when I saw it in the theater, I liked it. But again, it's a matter of ignorance. Just not understanding the stakes and you kind of pointing out the puzzle pieces. And it makes a lot more sense. It's funny, we're recording this and in the next hour or two, probably, they're going to do the reveal of all the Marvel things that are next, including quite possibly, seemingly it's going to be the cast of the Eternals, which will be part of the next phase. They're already filming Scarlet Witch movie. No, sorry. The Black Widow movie right now. Could possibly be a trailer for that. They've been filming long enough. That will be interesting. By the way, it's funny. A friend of mine who was at San Diego Comic-Con just posted a video from the Borderlands cosplay tour.
Yeah,
which I suspect you'll have a vested interest in.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, I actually tried to buy that $250 collector's edition. They already sold out.
No shit.
They said they're.
I didn't know you could sell out, but I guess because you're getting material things with it, right?
Yeah, they had a very limited run, but they said they're supposed to be producing some more. So I got that $250 just sitting around in the account waiting for them. But if not, then I'll be buying the $100 version. So.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm all about the Borderlands life.
You think we're good at covering the movie?
Well,
anything else?
The last two things will be the first credit sequence and then the post credit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The first credit sequence is pretty.
So the first.
That's a big one.
The thing is that.
A couple of things happened in that one. Yeah,
there was of course, it was him finally swinging through the city with MJ, which is kind of cute.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the truth.
You must have been really happy, I'm going to imagine.
Actually, my happiest moment was seeing J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah
Exactly,
Jameson.
that's what I meant, yeah.
That right there was like, oh, shit. That is great.
You know what my theory was? Theory's a strong word. But whenever I saw that J.B. Smoove was cast, I thought he was going to be playing J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, I was like, nah. And the funny thing is, I talked to a friend of mine at a comic book shop about this.
Yeah.
I was thinking they were going to still get J.K. Simmons. But my thing is, though, I think this is actually how they introduced the multiverse.
Okay.
Because you got to remember that J.K. Simmons was also J. Jonah Jameson in the original.
That's what, I know that.
So it's like, well.
I just thought it was, okay, my dumb ass was just thinking, oh, he's just playing the role again.
Because that's the thing. Like, in most Marvel multiverses, the character looks pretty much 90% the same.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the times they look almost exactly the same. They're just a slightly different personality or slight changes where he didn't have the flat top like he usually does. He was balding in the center.
Or J.K. Simmons is now fucking ripped.
Yeah. And I was like, so it's just one of those things where like, okay, this still might be the multiverse. The other part was they outed Spider-Man.
Yes.
Which, I'll tell you the truth, that's not even that big of a deal to me because that happens so many times in the comics. And the funny thing is that 9 times out of 10, the reason why it works is because when they say it's Peter Parker, everybody's like, really? Peter? And it's like the broke-ass kid that can't do this, or it's like, he's just this insignificant dude, so they just kind of, and usually he ends up giving somebody else the suit that can do something kind of like his, like he might give it to, Into the Spider-Verse, the Prowler.
Mm-hmm.
So in the comic books, that's what he does. He gives it to the Prowler to go parade around in while he goes to like board meetings. So everyone
is the Prowler his uncle in that?
In the Spider-Verse, he is. In the 616 universe, he was a villain that ended up turning to a good guy.
Okay.
But that was like he ended up working for Peter. So he gives him the suit. So that way when he's in meetings, Prowler goes out, acts like he's Spider-Man. No one suspects anything the wiser. Even though he gets out, it's like, well, he can't be because Spider-Man's over there saving the day.
Yeah, fair enough.
But the other part was the whole reveal that Nick Fury and Mariah aren't who they actually are. They're I can never remember the scroll names from Captain Marvel, but the main scroll that was helping out Samuel L. Jackson and then his wife.
Ben Mendelsohn's the Australian actor.
I think his name was Talos.
Yeah, let me look that up.
But they are filling in for Nick Fury and Mariah Shield, or whatever her last name is, and they end up talking to Nick, and you find out that he's on a spaceship, which was the introduction to Sword, and that's what got me excited because this means that they're going to actually start doing more cosmic and space themed stories.
Yeah, Talos or Talos.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Talos. So, and the thing is, I'm looking forward to that because that means that we might actually get Asgardians of the Galaxy, which
they've already said that's not happening, but they would say that, right?
And that's the thing. I don't believe.
Okay.
It's one of those. I can't believe anything Marvel actually says because they say a lot of stuff, and it's like you say it didn't happen. But
they have every reason to not confirm it one way or the other.
Exactly.
And by the way, into that, Taika Waititi just signed on to
for Thor 4.
Yeah, to write and direct, which.
And see, that's the reason why.
Unfortunately, Akira got is delayed now indefinitely.
I could give a fuck less.
I mean, fair enough, but I think he's a great filmmaker, and I think he could do it right.
I don't. Again, I tell you this now. I don't believe in a lot of live action. There's certain things that I think. Actually, we can save this for another episode.
No, okay, fair enough. Yeah.
But either way, I'll just say that I've been watching less live action TV, and I've been going more to anime because they tell better stories. It's more compelling, and you don't have to deal with a lot of the shit that you have to deal with on live action TV.
Yeah. Okay. That's yeah. I'd like.
Yeah, like
I know I'm gonna have a lot. I'm gonna have a lot of questions more than I have definitive statements, but that would be really. I'd be curious to hear that. And take part, as that's what we do.
But yeah, Spider-Man loved it.
Okay, I really enjoyed it now that we've talked it out, honestly. Far more positive than I was coming out of the theater. I liked it. I don't know, I'm fucking ignorant. I don't know a lot.
I'll give it, it's not perfect, but it was a solid 8.5.
Okay.
I said there were some things.
Out of 30, or? Yeah.
I said there was only like maybe 2 things I would have changed in the movie, and they're minor.
I thought there was a fair percentage of some of that comedic relief that did not work for me. They really kind of like square peg round hole it a little bit at times.
Yeah,
and that was a bit much.
Yeah, some of the comedy I was like could have got a little bit reworked.
It just felt like they kept. It was more hammy, certainly, I think, than the Spider-Man Homecoming, and it also just like they kept, and it was that thing where like that was their plan, and it works or it doesn't. It didn't work for the most part, and it kept happening. So a few times like that, it was a little much for me.
Like I'll tell you now, his teacher, the primary one, not J.B. Smoove, but the other dude,
Fucking Martin Starr, it was too much. He was just he was an incompetent human.
Yeah, there was a couple of jokes with him that I was like, okay, that's kind of funny, but then everything else I was just like, okay, like let's move on to the next one because I'm done with him.
Yeah, he's like not a bad teacher. He's a useless human.
Yeah, it's just like.
It was honestly just like we get it.
Yeah.
And then we had like 7 more left, unbeknownst to us.
And the funny thing is, usually J.B. Smoove is that annoying person for me.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. And it's like you took over J.B. Smoove's part, and it's like, and J.B. Smoove does it better. It's like at least when he's annoying, he's a funny and annoying character. This dude was he just got annoying after a while. He got annoying and sad.
Well, at least yes. But at least the difference with J.B. Smoove is when he does that type of role, it's not really a role. It's just him on a certain level.
Yeah.
So at least then you're just like, you can't be mad at it because it's just him being him. Whereas when somebody's doing that and they're acting, if they're not great at it, it feels like acting.
Yeah.
On top of already being annoying.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a shitty twofer.
Let's see.
All right, we're about 42 minutes. 43 now, based on that. So we can kind of wrap up. Did you have any thoughts on any of the trailers from Comic-Con? Just to recap, we got Top Gun Maverick, sorry.
We can go down. I was like,
It Chapter 2, Jay and Silent Bob reboot. My thought on the Jay and Silent Bob reboot is, I don't give a fuck. Trailer was miserable for me.
See, you're the exact opposite. I'm so fucking excited.
It's just too much.
I love Jay and Silent Bob. Like, one of my favorite movies is Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Look, I quite enjoyed that movie, but just we're doing the meta thing because we're doing the reboot, which is in and of itself a reboot. And isn't that hilarious? I'm like, God damn it. Some people are great on weed. That sounded like I was a narc. Great on weed. Some people can handle cannabis. We're giving it the more technical term because now we're getting it legalized. Some can't. His movies, he's made some fucking awful movies since he started smoking weed regularly. The first of which was Zack and Miri Make a Porno. Fine movie. It's fine. I like Red State. I thought it was well made and very Kevin Smith-like because the cinematography was actually good. But, dear God, Tusk, no.
And that's the thing, like...
Yoga Hosers, no.
Those movies, and that's the thing, none of those movies are actually anything I actually care about. So, all the stuff with Kevin Smith I like are just Chasing Amy, Mallrats.
Chasing Amy, absolutely.
The Clerks movies, like, those are the things I like. And Jay and Silent Bob, I even like the Jay and Silent Bob cartoon, which is in and itself a terrible show, but it was hilariously terrible for me.
But I mean, and these 2 movies, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and then this one, the reboot. It really is it's the View Askew universe in action.
And I think that's the thing.
By the way, I don't know how it's aged, but Dogma I like too.
I think, and this is the thing though, Kevin Smith, you can already tell, at least I saw him making this movie, is if you didn't like Jay and Silent Bob Strike, like if you weren't a fan of Jay and Silent Bob Strike
I saw it in the theater. I really enjoyed it.
Then that's what it's like. This is pretty much like, okay, you're a fan of these types of movies. This is what you're getting. Yeah. And like I said, for me, it was like, all right, I'm down.
No, fair enough.
Let's see. We're going from the top. So,
yeah.
Top Gun Maverick.
I can defend that because I feel like you're going to shit on it.
Actually, no.
Okay.
So, one of the things is, of course, my love is going fast. And my dream as a kid was to fly jets. So, Top Gun was one of my favorite movies as a child. But the thing with Top Gun Maverick, I actually like the trailer. I love that they used the old music. I loved like the kind of calmness that went with the beginning of it.
Look, not a single scene in that trailer, like literally not a single scene, is original. It's new, but it's all rehashed.
Yeah.
But keep in mind that came out during San Diego Comic-Con. They're playing to everyone.
Yeah.
And it works to me.
But the one thing that I really liked was the fact that they still played up that Maverick is Maverick.
Yes.
They even came in with the trailers like, you should be an admiral by now, but you're still just a captain.
Yeah.
And that, like I said, that line alone resonated with me because it gave you everything that Maverick was. As I said, with just that one line was.
Absolutely.
And they even say at the end, you're one of the last, that they're already phasing you guys out. He loves being a pilot so much that even though he should be running his own fucking, Admiral class ship.
Yeah.
No, I just want to fly a fucking jet.
Exactly. I'm not here for the bureaucracy.
Yeah.
I'm here to fly planes.
Like, he's literally, I told you what I want to do.
Yeah.
I got to where I want to be at. Do I get to, like, can I fly tomorrow? Yes. Well, I'm going to fly tomorrow. I don't need a promotion. I don't need the money. I just want to fucking fly.
You know my theory on what the movie's about is? My theory is, again, strong word, that Miles Teller is playing Goose's son, which we know.
Yep.
That it's going to be a matter of, it's going to be like Force Awakens, where it's kind of like introducing it to a new generation while kind of rehashing a lot of big points.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, fair enough. I'm all about nostalgia in that regard. Let's do it. But it's going to be, I bet, Goose's son has his partner. That partner dies. That's what's in the casket. I say that, meaning human, in the casket. And then Maverick's going to have to play the mentor role to a certain degree, which is going to be a combination of what Maverick was with also Tom Skerritt's character. And it's going to be a little bit of that because you can't do it to where Maverick is a father because that will undermine the Maverick Cavalier thing that he does, right?
Yeah.
You're going to have Jennifer Connelly playing the instructor role, and he's going to fall in love with the instructor again. She's even carrying the stuff just like Kelly McGillis, like the books and stuff under her arms. That's going to be a romance part. And that's, more or less what it's down to. And then they're going to have a thing where they're back on the mission, and instead of Maverick being the young guy, it's going to be Miles Teller's character on the mission.
See, I'm thinking it's going to be more along the lines
Maverick's still going to be Maverick, by the way, so that's going to have to play into it.
Yeah. So Maverick's always going to be Maverick.
Yes.
I think that what it's going to be, and see, that's the thing. My whole thing was I'm thinking that it's going to be more of along it's still going to be the passing of the torch story because that's essentially what it has to be. You can't be Maverick still leading the charge because otherwise what's the point of having Goose's son?
Yeah, and also why do you have Miles Teller, who is not necessarily a movie star, but he's a known person, so he's going to have a prominent role.
Hold on. We're going to get on it. Like, that's when you say movie star.
No, I know. We have no. I know.
Well, no. Here's the thing. You say it before, and this is my problem. All these people are actually movie stars. Like, where you say it's just a known person, like, while you might just say that, like, you think, like, everybody says Millie Bobby Brown's a movie star, I could give a fuck less.
I know, that's fair.
Brie Larson, I could give a fuck
but
less.
It's all about what you define as that, and I have a very specific definition of it, which is stupid.
And I don't like that.
I know.
Because you're pretty much you're elevating too many people up here, and you're not, because you're putting, like I said, Millie Bobby Brown and Brie Larson, you told me before, they're movie stars.
No,
they're movie stars by definition,
okay.
But but Stranger Things is boring as shit.
We're going to talk about this for fucking 2 hours now.
And Brie Larson is boring as fuck.
I know. No, okay.
So for me, they're not going to be. They're movie stars because they're acting in movies.
I know.
But they're not star quality.
I don't define movie star as actor who has starred in a movie, thus they are a movie star. movie star is a thing that, and here I go despite it, is somehow like almost unquantifiable, but also I do quantify it in certain terms. So, I know. Enjoy to quote Zeke in The Faculty, I'm a contradiction. So, okay. Part of what being a movie star is, I think, does go to, on some level, and this, again, we don't really have, from a box office perspective, movie stars anymore. There are like under 10 people that you go to see such and such's movie. It's a Denzel movie. You go to movies because of the person starring in it, and not, you know what I mean, like that type of thing. Very few people, quote unquote, open movies now because Hollywood has negated most, quote unquote, bankable movie stars.
Well, see, the thing is, I think that's the exact opposite. I think we have way more movie stars than we ever did.
I don't think so.
Because, well, this thing for you, you're saying that like there are certain movies that aren't bankable, whereas now we've gotten to the age where I think for you, what it is now there's a saturation because now we have Netflix, and it's not the saying that all these movies are great, that they're, like I said, star
a lot
quality.
of them suck.
Yeah, but that's the thing though, is that Bird Box.
Yes.
Bird Box sat in purgatory hell for a while, but they gave it to Sandra Bullock because they knew that people were going to go see Sandra Bullock movies.
Sandra Bullock is a movie star.
Yeah.
I know. Yes.
So
maybe a bad example because this is like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Movie star.
But then, so let's say Keanu Reeves.
Okay.
Now, Keanu Reeves, for me, is high quality movie.
Absolutely.
But actually, at Comic-Con, there's a guy that got up there and he asked him a question. He was like, well, you haven't been in that many movies this decade. And Keanu literally just looked at him and goes, well, I guess you're right. I haven't been in that many movies you've seen in this decade. Yeah. Keanu Reeves has been in about 25 or 30 movies in the last 10 years that either he has starred, directed, or had a...
Because he directed Man of Tai Chi, right? And that was a hugely budgeted film.
He directed it. He had a small part in it.
Yeah.
And mind you, I watched it. It's not the best movie, but it was a good movie. But that's the thing. If you put Keanu Reeves in a movie and you actually just put a trailer out there, there's people going to go see it because it's Keanu. Mm-hmm. Now, mind you, Keanu hasn't had too many big blockbuster hits since then because outside of John Wick, the next thing he had was really just The Matrix. There wasn't really anything else that was really...
Speed.
But that was like, what, 20 years before? Well, 15, 20 years before Matrix?
It was less than 10.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'd say I have no idea because I hadn't seen Speed since I was a kid.
Fair enough. The Matrix 2001, and we're talking like 94 or 93. I'm checking that. Anyway, I'm nitpicking.
But like Jake Gyllenhaal, for me, he hasn't been in a ton of... He's a movie star, but he hadn't been in a ton of big blockbusters that I would qualify him as like Marlon Brando, Robert Downey Jr.
I know, and so that's where my dumbass definition...
So that's what, yeah.
I understand.
That's what I'm saying. That's
I know, no. There is movie star that sometimes it's in bankability, and then sometimes it's just in... You see a person
and I'm not saying
jumps
you're wrong.
Up. I know.
Yeah, I'm just saying just from
first
my
of all,
standpoint. Yeah.
I probably am as much as you. I guess you technically can't be, but you know what I mean. But like certain people are just that's a fucking like old school style movie star.
Now if you said something like if you were giving me like Marlon Brando, or John Wayne, or Frank Sinatra, it's like okay, I understand that.
No, I know. Yeah, I agree.
It's like it was because in their time you weren't going to go see, whoever the other 3 people were in, Hello Dolly. You're going to go see whoever fucking lit the show. You weren't going to go see, what's fucking Guys and Dolls. It's like, you were seeing it because Marlon Brando and Frank Sinatra in it.
Yes.
There's a bunch of other random no-names. Who gave a fuck? Because they were the
look,
stars.
You're not going to it for the character actor that we all know that's been in 2 billion movies.
Yeah.
That's not driving you to the theater per se.
Like
necessarily.
Yeah, like, honestly, Daniel Craig, and me and Taylor talked about this.
Yeah.
I love Daniel Craig. But he's not a blockbuster. Mm-hmm. He's not bankable in that way. Like, he can do, and I love his small art house movies, but for me, he's a movie, and that's what I'm saying, is he's a movie star because he's in those movies. He's already, even if he's not making bukus of money, he's not, the top billing for everything, he already fits that category.
I think he's a guy, there are some actors that I think are more interesting character actors than they are, movie stars. And Brad Pitt, I think, is one of those. I think his supporting roles are infinitely more fascinating than most of his starring roles. Mm. And I think that he enjoys the freedom that comes with not being the name, quote unquote, on the poster. Mm. And so he can really go for it. He makes interesting choices. And Daniel Craig, I think, could be that way. And he's done some of that, too, on a certain level with, like, Logan Lucky and stuff like that. And I think Knives Out could be part of that, too.
Well, there was Logan Lucky, Knives Out, Defiant was a smaller, smaller than
Laura Croft.
My favorite.
Road to Perdition, he's great in that.
Well, my favorite one was actually, God, now I'm mad because I forgot the title.
Layer Cake?
Yes.
Love that movie.
Yeah, like
that's a favorite.
I'm really into British gangster movies, and that's one of my favorite ones. And it's just like.
And allegedly, they got him the audition for Bond.
Yeah.
Because of the scene with the Luger going around the corner when he was drunk. That's what drove them. And by the way, right on, because that was. I mean, look, we already know Matthew Vaughn's a huge, huge, huge fan of James Bond in general, let alone you can see the Kingsman movies, his own franchise, based on the Mark Millar comic book.
Yeah. That
he's clearly, he has a great reverence for it. And that was, a purposeful Bond moment in that movie. And, I know we need to get done with this, but I am a Craig fan.
Yeah, what was that? We can make it an hour and 5.
Okay, I'm a Craig fan as Bond, and I know he's about to exit Bond after they finish filming this allegedly disastrous production they have currently. And I think he's going to die in that movie, by the way.
I'm kind of hoping for it.
I hope so. I want a clean break in that regard. I think he will die, though. Well, I think that's why he came back, partially, outside of being paid $32 billion for it.
Well, honestly, I'm pretty much that it was just the money. Because
that's a major driving point.
Well, I mean, he even said it before, is like, I would like to do some other stuff. And the reason why I think it was just the money, because he already announced that, after this, he said he won't be doing any more big, productions like this anymore. So it's like, and I get it. It's one of those things where you do the big blockbuster movie, summer movie, so that you can get all that money, so then you can go and make the art house movie that's only going to make you $20 grand.
It's kind of that one for me, one for them principle, know.
But also, it's like
an older athlete getting one last giant contract.
Yeah. So it's a Brett Favre contract. It's, okay, it's no, I'm going to be out here. I'm going to make my money. It's just that I don't have to break my bones doing it anymore. It's like, I'm good. I'm just going to do this, and then I'm going to walk off to the sunset and go do what the fuck I feel like doing. So it's like, I'm down for it. I'm kind of hoping he does die, not because I want to see Daniel Craig's Bond to end. I want it to be a defining moment in the Bond series, because there's that whole argument that everyone's had was whether it is James Bond is the code name or James Bond is the person.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been under the assumption that James Bond is the code name, because James Bond can't be 30 for 70 fucking years. It's like, well, if he's supposed to be in his mid 30s to early 40s.
Yeah, that's a great call.
And mind you, he's been married before, but a lot of the other Bonds never mentioned anything about him being married.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, the very first Bond movie, he got married. His wife got killed by Dr. Blofeld. Blofeld, the same dude that was in Spectre. So it's
who's gonna have a scene in this new movie?
Yeah, so it's like, well, if that happened, then something else had to kind of go along with this. There has to be different Bonds at this point. It was like they all look different, they act different, they sound different. It's like they don't even carry themselves in the same way. It's like they all have wildly different personalities, even if they are still portraying the same actor. So
absolutely.
So I'm kind of hoping that this one goes off, especially since they already said that Letitia Wright is not Letitia Wright, but
from Captain Marvel, the actress. By the way, that's also was a clickbaity misnomer.
Lashana Lynch.
Yes,
that's it.
That's also a clickbaity misnomer. We already know how that's going to be in the movie.
Yeah.
Which is going to be that they have to go recruit him again, just like they did in Skyfall. Get him back in some regard from an early retirement. So she takes over the 007 name in the meantime. That's what's going to happen.
See, I didn't even think about that.
That's what's going to happen. And chances are, it could be that she dies, and that's what part of why he comes back, and then he reassumes the identity. Could be that.
I don't think they're going to go that route.
Okay, but there are scenes filming for Cuba, in Jamaica. It's going to be that scruffy bearded, scruffy faced Bond who's living the life, and then something's going to bring him back in. Presumably, it's going to be something nefarious happening as a result of Rami Malek's character. And he's going to have, I believe it's going to be like a cyber terrorist type, I think. It's going to be that type of thing, I believe. Something like that. But they filmed in Jamaica, and they're filming, I don't think in Cuba, but Cuba's happening.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think they're going to kill off Lashana Lynch that way, just because you know how much, you know how pissed off people are going to be. Because I'll tell you now,
as opposed to now when they're pissed off just at a headline.
I was saying just. You know how mad I will be if I go in the movie and then she gets killed off because I'll literally walk out that bitch. And I love James Bond.
Okay, and that's and fair enough. And that was just the thought of like what drives it out because it's going to be he's somewhat of retired and they're trying to get him back.
And see, that's
so what would drive him to come back?
And see, I don't think it's going to be that way. I think it's going to be that I think he's still pro. I'm hoping that this will, like I said, this is going to be the defining moment. I'm thinking they're probably actually going to give some real backstory, like maybe because I'll be honest with you, I fell asleep on Spectre. I actually own Spectre, and I fell asleep probably about 40 minutes into it.
I think Spectre was a mess.
So I don't know what happens in the end. I don't know whether I'm guessing obviously he didn't kill Blofeld since he pops up in the next one.
Here's the thing. That movie oscillated between trying to be like that real world seriousness of Skyfall while also being like anniversary film. So they did all these like kitschy winky shit to 50 Years of Bond. And that did not mix well at all. It was kind of disjointed. They had Batista doing his thing, trying to be a Jaws reference, you know, in that fight.
Yeah.
It had some moments that were cool, but it felt like they had a really difficult production. It felt like it. And we already saw the Sony emails and the email hack about how, like, they kept mentioning Blofeld in the emails.
Yeah.
But then whenever the rumors came out about Blofeld, they're like, it's not Blofeld. And then they were like, surprise, it's Blofeld. And then they had the thing where we will get a tax break if we both film in Mexico City, which was the opening scene, and we have the former like Miss Mexico or whoever is a big actress there in the scene as well. Like it was truly like most studio films do. Look, the Broccolis, they're producers, a long time holding the rights of Bond. Here's the problem: they only have one property, and that's Bond, and they micromanage the shit out of it. And they are very protective of it. And while that's cool, they also hire good people. But then they let them do shit that they want to do. And so they have a lot of people that drop out. And then they're like, shit, we have this this release date, so now we have to get this movie going. So then they get Cary Fukunaga, who is a director who is very talented and very good, and he has a defined voice. The problem is he is not good at compromising on any level, which is why he drops out of exponentially more projects than he ever gets made. And he is rubbing up against his strong-willed nature against two people that are like, that's cool, but you're a hired hand. We're the Bond franchise.
And see, that's the thing. I like when directors and producers get to put their own spin on something, but at the same time, you have to know what you're getting into. And the Bond franchise is one of those ones where you're not going to spin it some random direction. It's going to be Bond. You're
never going to reinvent the wheel on these movies.
And the thing is, though, I don't want you to. Because I want Bond to be Bond. Now, yes. You can add and you can, like I said, Skyfall, well, the Daniel Craig series, is my favorite.
Skyfall was amazing.
Yeah, Skyfall is still my favorite.
Casino Royale was great, too, by the way.
Casino Royale to me, was the perfect intro.
Quantum of Solace is turds.
Yeah.
It was
I still watch it. It's okay.
It's a mess.
It's the worst of the first three. Like I said, Skyfall is still number one. Casino Royale is number two.
Yes.
Quantum of Solace is third. But
really?
Yeah. I said,
okay. Fair enough.
But the thing is, though, like the reason why I love him so much is because this one gave me it's clearly a different Bond because he was rash. Yeah. He was brutal. He didn't give a fuck. He's like, I'm getting the fucking job done, whether I stab you in the eye with a pencil, whether I shoot you, or I break your head over a fucking sink. It's like, as long as I get the job done, I'm going to get out.
It is very much the by any means necessary.
And he's still suave. He's still debonair, but at the same time, he's still really rough around the edges. And throughout the rest of the movies, you see him kind of getting more Bond-like.
Yeah.
But then you see the whole thing of him like, okay, I understand where I should have been. I understand the mistakes I've made, but now I see what really happens in this whole, within this organization, within this agency, that not everybody's a good guy. Not everybody's a bad guy. That the world is really in gray, and I don't want to be here. And it's like, as I said, that's why I love Skyfall, because it was, oh shit, I got to get back in the game. I'm trying to save the world. And like it's at the very end of the movie, he finally kind of came to terms with like, okay, I understand my role now.
I rewatched it recently. It is very good.
Yeah.
And also, Javier Bardem is relatively rare to me of being a legitimately great Bond villain with legit interesting motivations.
He is
I
my
loved it.
favorite of the Bond villains.
He was amazing in that.
And it wasn't just because of his motivations, but it was also just some of the things that he did. Because the one scene that I love so much in all the Bond series is in Skyfall, whenever he finally got Daniel Craig and he had him captured on the warehouse.
Yeah.
And he started making some
on that abandoned island, right?
Yeah, and he started making advances towards him.
Yes.
And then he opens up his legs. And Daniel Craig doesn't even hesitate for a second, just sits there nonchalantly like, okay.
Yeah.
And you can tell, like, he was hoping that, well, let me see, maybe my sexual advances might break him.
He's
They
doing
might
every
get to
way
him.
to push buttons to get to him, get in his head.
And at the same time, Daniel Craig understands, it's like, okay, I know what's going on.
Yeah.
I understand the power play. Don't let it happen. And you saw that because, remember in Casino Royale, that was the same thing where he was getting hit in the nuts in the chair when he was a torture scene.
God
and
damn
And it was just him when he kept laughing. He was like, like when I told you scratched it right, it's like, you scratched my balls for me. Thank you. And then you saw everything that happened. It was like, okay, instead of milking it, instead of making him angrier to try to get a response out of him, no, let me play it cool. Let me act like this doesn't matter.
That is an interesting kind of trajectory and maturity of that. I also do like the fact that just with the character and just how humans work, you can fall in line, quote unquote, or just understand the game more, but you're still going to have your tendencies. And so he does revert back to the guy that is like, I'm going to improvise and figure this shit out in real time because I'm boots on the ground here and I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And by the way, you have your asset, you have your villain, whoever you have to get, and by any means necessary, and you can do all your bureaucracy and your red tape and shit, but this is a problem and we have to fix it.
Yeah. And like I said, it's one of the ones I'm excited about, but at the same time, it's like, I'm kind of glad it's finally ending.
I feel like I've been burned so many times by Bond movies for the most part, enough to where I'm hoping for the best but expecting the worst.
We talked a lot about this one. It Chapter 2.
Yeah, what do you think of that? I think the trailer looks strong. I'm not, I don't think as big a fan as everybody else seemed to be about the first one. I did quite like it, part one. But that trailer's strong, and recently Bill Hader described it in terms of, like, saying it was like a form of, like, Lord of the Rings because it's such a big movie. So that I'm intrigued by.
I was intrigued by it, but the thing was, though, this one felt different than the first movie. This one seems a lot darker. Like,
oh yeah,
it seems like the first one should have been PG-13, and this one should be rated R type of situation.
And that's fair, but definitely, to your point, in that trailer, you could really feel the fact of they have now all of the freedom of a gigantic hit. That first one was a gigantic hit, and now this dude is like, okay, look, we're playing with house money now. Do whatever you want. And they said that they didn't get any studio notes for the most part, really, with regard to, like, quote unquote going too far.
Well, see, I didn't think they would because I think they've been doing this a lot more. I think they kind of felt the whole thing with the Stephen King franchises now is that they're going to stick more along of the story that they already have presented that he wrote.
Yeah.
Just give them a better production.
Yes.
Because It Chapter 1 and 2 look way more phenomenal than anything that has been put out by Stephen King in years, from Dreamcatcher, which I hate that fucking movie.
Hearts of Atlantis.
I never actually watched it.
It's not great.
What was the one that just came out? The Dark Tower. I fell asleep on that, and I was...
By the way, in this new iteration, the new Pet Sematary movie, which was completely unnecessary.
I heard a lot of people didn't care for it.
It didn't need to exist, and the change they had, it sucked. I was not a fan, personally.
But I noticed a lot of his movies a lot of his older ones weren't doing that well, and then everything that was doing well were the smaller budgeted movies,
yes.
like Gerald's Game, 1942, whatever that one was about the dude that killed his wife and the rats were coming up to get him. I think that might have been Daniel.
That was no.
Was that 1942?
Yeah, it was 1942.
What was the one that had dude from It, the Skarsgård kid?
Oh, and you're talking about the TV show?
Yeah.
On Hulu?
Yeah.
That was Castle Rock.
Okay. Yeah, Castle Rock.
Which quite interesting.
Yeah, I watched a few episodes of Castle Rock, and mind you, I'm not a huge Stephen King fan.
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't have the knowledge of
than most of the stuff that's came out, and then I saw the trailer for Doctor Sleep, which is the sequel to The Shining.
Yes.
And that even looked way better, and it got me interested.
Which is adapted and directed by the same guy who did Gerald's Game.
Okay, see, and so it looks like he just
Walt Flanagan. I think his name
that
is.
they finally were like, okay, well, you got this. Well, let's give you some real money.
Yeah, and I think one thing that can't be underestimated also is that all those bad adaptations we're talking about from the 80s and 90s, and there were some good ones too.
Oh, I'm talking about even some of the ones that came from like
I know, no, fair enough, but part of my premise is that there were quite a few bad ones too, and we're now talking about filmmakers that grew up both reading the original, text, all the books, while also seeing those movies and seeing a number of misfired adaptations, and now they're like, oh, well, they have a more defined voice of what they would do with it.
Yeah, and a lot of people got to remember that a lot of Stephen King productions back in the day were the Netflix of the time because they were the made-for-TV productions, where it was...
Oh, yeah.
Like, people forget that there were moments in time where it was everyone watched TV, where...
The Stand was an event.
Pretty much. So if anybody that was born before like 1996, 1999 didn't understand that between like 85 to probably about 97, 98,
probably, yeah,
every 3 to 4 years there was a Stephen King miniseries that came out that everybody had to sit down, whether it was It, The Langoliers, Tommy Knockers.
Well, you did to varying degrees. You had The Stand.
The Stand was the big one.
It and The Stand were both big.
The Stand was pretty much the peak.
It scared a generation of kids, including myself, got scared of clowns because of that.
Yeah. Like I said, it was the one that like kind of really got everybody in there. The Stand was the peak because everybody was like, okay, we have to watch it.
Yeah, and
I think it was like, wasn't that the one that was, I think, 3 or 4 different shows? Like it was 3 or 4 episodes or something like that.
It was a miniseries.
Because I want to say like each one was either 2 or 3 hours long.
Yeah, and by the way, it is aged horribly.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It is god awful. But they also had, to a lesser degree, Storm of the Century. You had Stephen King trying to take back The Shining.
Rose Madder.
Yes, which was on ABC. A lot of these were on ABC, if not all of them.
All of them were on. Yeah,
okay, that's what it was. Okay.
And that was the thing though. It was these were big events that they led up. They would talk about it for months, and then finally Halloween comes in. All right, everybody sit down and watch it. Well, Storm of the Century.
And that was at a time when, you know how they say like the older generation talks about. I mean, what else are you gonna watch? We had 3 channels. Yeah. That was our version of that for that time.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like it was our Netflix because we knew what was coming up. That was the one thing where they show the trailer. Mm-hmm. They'll show the teaser. They'll put up a random commercial that'll like have Pennywise in the background, like at the corner of the ABC symbol or some bullshit like that. And it was like, okay, they're dropping little hints and clues.
That shit gave me nightmares.
Yeah, then they finally show you the big trailer, and it's like, all right, everybody knows that October 28th, 7 o'clock Friday night, everybody's coming home so they can watch it. They're going to get VHS players so they can go and record it because we're not going to be able to see it again until next year. And that's the thing everybody forgets is we don't have that problem anymore where a show comes out and, all right, well, I guess I might see it again in another year. I might see it again in 6 years.
There is absolutely no outside of like Game of Thrones, for example, which is one of the last instances of that. I think it's going to be, is that there is no like urgency of viewership, because, I mean, either you get every episode immediately, or you can just watch it streaming as soon as it's done airing.
Yeah.
Or whatever the next day, anything.
Yeah. Like because that's what I do.
And that's what part of the saturation of it always too, is that there is so much less like market share for each show to have now. So that's why Game of Thrones is truly an aberration from now on.
Well, and the thing is, I actually don't think Game of Thrones is going to be the last one. I don't think it's
going to be the last one, but it's a rare. It's going to be a rare occurrence, I think.
I think the new things that are going to be happening are going to be more of the live streaming of certain things. I think that's going to be like the new frontier for it. But I'm kind of excited for the new It, just because this one looks like it's going to actually hash more into the book where they talk more about who Pennywise really is, why he's doing the things he is. And did you see the initial clip that came out about a month ago?
Nah, I saw the teaser trailer.
The one with the old lady.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, see that shit right there freaked me out, and I was just.
Oh, it was very creepy.
And that literally got me where I was like, I don't really want to watch it. Because that one scene was like,
and she was in the new trailer for about 3 seconds, and that, by the way, brought my emotions back to thinking about that. And I'm like, shit.
Yeah, she opened up the door, and all I saw was her butt ass naked walking creepy.
Yeah, no, I was watching it by myself just on my laptop, And I did the involuntarily shook my head. No one.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. It was like, nah.
Nope.
So I'm
very optimistic about it.
Yeah, I think this is gonna do really well. What was the other one that came? What was the other big one that came out?
Guess how about is that material?
The Witcher.
Yeah. I don't care about it.
I am excited, and I can't wait. And the thing is, though, so for me, this is gonna be the new Game of Thrones.
Oh no! Here's the thing. Everything about that trailer, which granted was truly a teaser, it was doing you action shots. You don't really have a great idea of what it's about, but it's just clearly there were shots in the movie that had special effects specifically finished just for this trailer, which I get. But the entire thing was made to hey, need a new Game of Thrones? Watch Witcher.
And see, the thing is though, for me, it didn't feel that way because I actually know what The Witcher was.
Oh, I don't at all.
Yeah, so The Witcher is actually a classic Scandinavian book series.
Yeah.
That got adapted into a video game series, which is really well done.
And I tweeted about this because my dumbass was just like, "It's a video game," and then I did a thing, and then people rightfully were like, "Yeah,
I'm gonna
you're an idiot."
I'm gonna need you to do a little bit more research before you start putting out
fuck
tweets.
off. I'm aware.
I just say it. But,
am I not human?
I mean, you are, but you know.
Am I not human? Which could be also possibly lazy in some regards.
A little bit.
Fair? No.
But it's so the main thing is the titular Witcher. His name is Geralt, and he is essentially the last of the Witchers. So they are monster hunters that haven't been imbued with certain characteristics of other monsters. So if you notice, his eyes are orange and kind of have a kind of cat-like slit to it.
Yeah, he has pink eye.
Yeah, he can see at night different auras and things like that. But there is so the Witchers are highly sought after because they can use magic, which most humans in the world can't do.
Mm-hmm.
They got taught by elves and other things like that. So
they're superheroes.
Actually, in their time, they kind of would be.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
But they really weren't superheroes, more like tools of war. And Geralt, essentially, since he's the last one, he's just a mercenary at this point. But the little girl they keep showing eventually becomes his adopted daughter. And she was born essentially as a Witcher. So she has phenomenal untapped magic potential that everyone wants to get to.
And that's that's where they're showing that trailer.
So, if you look, there's a woman named Yennefer that they show, and she has a disfigured jaw and has a lump on the side.
Yeah.
So she's a witch. She's actually a love interest for Geralt. And you see it in the trailer, but she ends up making a pact to get more power and she makes herself look like the second Yennefer that you see, the real beautiful one that comes out with the black corset dress and everything. That's still the same girl. She just learned to use her powers so that she created an illusion on herself to look that way. And it goes out throughout the story of telling how Geralt got started, the adventures he goes on, and it's one of those things where he has a bestiary. So when he goes to go kill a creature, it's not something where he just grabs a sword and he can stab something. He has to have there's certain rules in this world. Okay. Kind of like in Game of Thrones, how they're the dragons are magic.
And granted, this is a teaser trailer for San Diego Comic-Con meant for shit like this, conversations, to get the word out, make everybody get going. And so it was a lot of just money shots. And by the way, I'm intrigued, and I will absolutely give it a shot and watch it, even despite my Henry Cavill displeasure for the most part.
And that's the thing,
outside of Mission Impossible, which he's good in.
And that's the thing, I haven't seen much with Henry Cavill in it outside of the Superman franchise, and I could give a fuck less about that. So,
that's fair.
Like I said, but he looks like, and the thing is, he actually wanted to play Geralt. He's a fan of the Witcher series, and I like it when an actor's actually a fan because they really put their all into that role.
100%.
And he looks like, and mind you, that trailer spoke enough for me where I was like, wow, he's having fun. He likes it.
Something can be said for it not being just a pay-for-play job, to where somebody has a vested interest in it, and he's just not franchise hunting, so to speak. He actually wants this, and I know he lobbied for it, to your point, because he's a fan. And by the way, and again, I know it's just action shots and money shots, that they invested money in that show.
And here's the thing, and this is the reason why I'm gonna tell you, you're a bit too cynical for a lot of these shows.
Probably.
Yeah, you gotta open yourself up more.
Look, I watched every episode of Game of Thrones, and I loved it. I'm not against it.
Well, that's saying it's not that it's just Game of Thrones because this is one of those shows where if you're into character and world building, The Witcher is perfect for it because they literally like all it is just character and world building.
Okay, where I'm not against it by any means.
Yeah, like they're gonna have action.
Yeah.
But remember what I told you, like that Kakugiri series is essentially the Game of Thrones without essentially it's just the game.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of one of the same things where instead of having all the random sex and stuff like that and betrayals, this is more along the lines of this is the character.
Okay.
You're gonna know everything about this character from beginning to end once the show is done.
Well, I will say, despite my cynicism in certain regards, certainly, I do want to love everything. But part of the problem is I've watched so much shit, it is so much more difficult to impress me than it ever has been just because, you know, these new norms get set, I know this is an excuse and not a reason, but, you know what I mean? It's just when I want to love everything, and I earnestly do, and I can find appreciation for anything, any movie, no matter what, no matter how bad it is. There's still something to like about everything. But I can also be a cranky dick, so.
Yeah, because
full stop.
Because I'll tell you now, like art house movies, they're never gonna be my thing.
Gimme.
Yeah, I'll tell you now, they're a waste of fucking time for me.
No.
But like I said, and the thing is, I don't knock them for everyone else because
there's
something for everybody. But for me, it's a waste of a fucking time.
Sometimes it's just fun to shit on stuff because I just like saying things sometimes. But because it's just fun. But at the same time, like I different strokes for different folks. I have no problem with any movie and people liking it because fair enough. Different people want different things out of popular culture.
Yeah.
And it's no less valid than my shitty attitude.
Which is not that bad. Just
no. Look, I have my qualms, but the things I'm into too, I am hardcore into, and I will go to bat for all of it. I just talked about earlier crying, watching Hackers. I love that movie. It's amazing.
Okay, Hackers is a great movie.
I love that movie so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should wrap up now.
Yeah.
Like we're way past what we expected.
Yeah, which is fine.
I don't give a shit.
Any recommendations for anything?
Euphoria on HBO was a very, very good show. It is impeccably made, and the cinematography is incredible. Think of it this way: it is like a version of like Skins, yes, but the difference is, you know, in that regard of like real world kids, warts and all problems. But the difference is that whereas like Skins, they always do the 1-to-1 of you fuck up, there are consequences irrevocably, that type of thing. It's A plus B equals C, or 1 plus 1 equals 2, which makes more sense. But it's the thing was that sometimes when people just fuck up, it's just it's just a thing because in life, not everything is doom and gloom as a result of it. Okay, so, and I like that quite a bit.
So that right there. So just a quick drop. My card got hacked, so I ended up losing money. So I had to cancel a bunch of my stuff. Well, a bunch of my subscriptions, and then I still haven't re-uploaded it, so I hadn't gotten a chance to get to watch it. But the fact that you told me that, I realized last night that I'm getting to the point where I don't want to watch shows that. I'm getting burnt out on shows that always have to have a message.
It's not just it's not an after-school special
or
at all.
have to show you something like, or has to be that good person does a bad thing, bad things happen. Like, or bad person does a bad thing, come up and happens. Like, sometimes I want to see it where, like you just said, sometimes you just fuck up, you might do some drugs, and then next week, hey, whatever, I did some drugs. Yeah. And that's like, all right, I did coke last week.
I mean, you take your lumps and you move on, and you don't always have to face the consequences directly because of that.
Yeah, because
and so it's not it's not cookie cutter in the show.
Yeah.
And it's very well done.
Okay,
I highly recommend it.
I was already excited for it because Zendaya was in it, but now
I know we said this. She's a damn movie star. For real.
She is.
She's amazing. I am so impressed by her.
But
yeah, what do you got?
So I have actually music and Big Crit. Released a new album. Crit is here. And
coming to Memphis.
He will be in Memphis at Minglewood Hall, which I'm actually still got to get my tickets in a hotel room and everything for. Mm-hmm. But this is actually, I want to say his first, I think this is his first major release on, no, this is his second major release on his label Multi.
Okay.
Which, and that's the thing, I've been a Big Crit fan since probably since 2010.
Yeah, in the early days of the podcast, we talked about his album.
Yeah. And I think I even said it then on one of our podcasts is that I love Crit's mixtapes.
Mm-hmm.
His albums were just so-so because, and funny thing is, I'm going to go ahead and give a plug because that's how much I love Big Crit. But listen to The Right Time with Bomani Jones, the newest episode that came out this week. He actually interviewed Big Crit.
I'm a big Bomani Jones fan.
And see, I love him too. He's hilarious.
He's great.
But he even told about it that you could tell because he was on Def Jam. And they would go through and just kind of pick out songs and, you know, this, that, and the other. Because his first album, the single came out in 2010. No, 2011. Mm-hmm. The album didn't come out till the next year.
Okay.
And it was just because they made some changes, this and the other. But you can tell when you listen to his mixtape that it was all him. And then when you got the album, it was watered down. The last two albums that he's put out on his own label have been fucking phenomenal. Like I said, it got beat out by by Vince Staples' Fun. Yeah. But that was my number 2 album.
Great album.
Yeah, like I said, Fun and Money. It's only 7, really like 5 songs because there's a bunch of interludes in there. Mm-hmm. But still phenomenal. But his double album was my number 2.
Yeah.
And it was just because really Vince Staples came at the last minute and I loved it. And it probably would still be my number 1. But this one right here, I still haven't gotten all the way through it.
I know, but it's you can feel like that the vibrancy that comes with creative freedom.
He's lighter.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if you go and look at the liner notes, I didn't know this until later that he was actually doing all his beats, all his production, everything. He's finally stepped back and let other people do it because I believe the only beat he produced is called Blue Valley Flame. Mm-hmm. But one of the best songs on there has Lil Wayne, and I hate Lil Wayne, but it's called Fucking Addiction. Love that shit. Like, it's Southern bump to its core, and he sounds so much happier, and like you feel him in the songs. And I'm so fucking excited. Like, I can't wait for the show. I actually had a friend of mine that
I texted you as soon as that news came out because I was like, oh, he's gonna want to see this.
Well, that was the thing. A friend of mine that like I said, she used to be an old neighbor. She was at Big Crit's listening party. She a friend of hers invited her out. She got an invite, and next thing I know, I look at my Instagram story. She's at Big Crit listening party. I was like, I fucking hate you in life right now. But that right now, I want to say it's 15 tracks. Mm-hmm. I'm at least halfway. I want to say I've listened to the whole album, but I haven't listened to it and broke down everything, like listen to each song multiple times. But right now, that's probably going to be my this is my happy album. Like, I listen to this when I'm going on my way to work, when I've had a bad day, when I just want to feel lighter. This one right here gets it. And it's not that every song is happy. It's just you feel that energy in his music that you can't help but, enjoy it. So, if you got it, and it's on everything. So, it's on Tidal. I want to say, no, I don't think it's on Tidal, but it is on Amazon, iTunes, Google
Spotify,
Play. Yeah. Okay. But if you got it, Crit is here.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Right on. Well, yeah, I am at Inquisitive Dick on Twitter.
And I am actually, I don't even remember what my Twitter name. I think it's I think I'm still Black Market Jesus.
Let's see.
Let's see. Yeah. At me at Black BLK _MKT Jesus. Let's say Nardi Henri. And yeah, like I said, we'll be putting up that Instagram page probably in a day or so.
Anyway, thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Woo. Bye, people.
Bye.